The U.S. jobs such as computer and information systems managers of architectural and engineering managers make up some of the highest paid professionals. The average annual wage for computer and information technology starts at about $91,000, and that was as of May 2020. So, my most important part of making sure and introducing you all to technology, especially as far as the career is concerned, because automation could replace over 132 minority workers by the year 2030. Automation is the hardest, it will be the hardest on minimum wage workers and people of color, according to statistics in technology in the workforce. Of the 15 jobs most threatened by automation, cashiers, food service employees, and customer service representatives, the majority being Black and Latino Hispanic people. So, just as I talk with my eighth graders, because technology is taking over, we're seeing less and less of people in customer service and different things. So we're needing to find out as much information, and I'm going to turn it over to Miss Morris. Thank you, Miss Morris, so much.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. And I appreciate Kenneth for even allowing us the opportunity to be here and have this conversation with you all. My name is Jalika Morris Jones. On this panel, I've brought in some of my closest people who work at Google and understand big tech, but also had very humble beginnings. So I have my husband. It says Jalika Ann Theron Jones on his call, and he's leaving tennis and he's walking, but he is a software engineer for Google. I have Corey Granger. Corey is a project manager for Google. I have Maggie Coogie. She is a product manager for Google. And I have My Joy Copeland. And My Joy is my daughter who is going to share some project work that she has completed all on YouTube. So just trying to show you all different avenues by which you can learn technology. You don't have to wait for someone to teach you these things. So let's just cut to the chase. This is going to be a very straight shooter conversation because time is limited and we have so much to share with you all. I would like to start with saying, first of all, you showed up for yourself for even, attending this session. We all know that 2 years of being at home with COVID and all this uncertainty has really changed a lot of the school system and how people are showing up. So kudos to you for doing that for yourself. I want to give you a little background about me, and then I'll have the other panelists come off of mute and give you a little information about them. And then we can go on to the question and answer section. So I am the eldest of 5. My parents were both incarcerated while I was younger. I was raised in the projects of Boston, Massachusetts, and moved to Atlanta, Georgia when I was 14. I always start these kind of conversations off with that because I'm trying to debunk the idea that you have to come from privilege, come from money, or be a genius to work at big tech companies. I literally am still to this day figuring it out for myself. And so hopefully the things that we share with you all will help you also understand how close you can reach out and be in whatever field of work you want to be in, regardless of how much money it makes or how big of an organization it is. So I'm going to pass it over to Corey because I believe she's ready to speak. Corey, you want to come off mute and give a little bit of information about yourself?
Yes, ma'am. Hello, beautiful people. My name is Corey, like Jalika mentioned. I am from Baltimore, Maryland. Currently living in San Diego, California. And the reason why is just because I wanted to experience something new. So I was born and raised in Baltimore, graduated from the Baltimore Leadership School for Young Women, which is a largely Black all-girls school in the city. I went on to attend Johns Hopkins University, also in Baltimore. And in I believe it was 2015, something that really kind of changed the trajectory of my life, not only my life, but also the city and pretty much the world around me happened, which was the murder of Freddie Gray. who was killed by Baltimore City police. And so as a result of that, I ended up coming together with some of the other girls from my high school, and we made a documentary that was essentially just supposed to tell.
If you're Cody, can you please report to the front office? Rafael Fuentes, can you please report to the front office?
The documentary is called Step the Movie, and it's meant to tell a more positive story about Baltimore, about what it means to grow up as a first-generation college student from an impoverished background. And so I was a part of that movie. I graduated from Johns Hopkins, and then I just came to California just because I needed a new scenery. I needed a new environment. And I ended up getting to Google just literally by connections that I had made with other people, and really showing up for myself and getting creative with finding a way to create an opportunity. So I just would like to echo what Jalika says. It doesn't take any special kind of person to end up in big tech or really in any place. It just takes a person who's willing to put themselves on the line and who knows what they want and is willing to get creative about how to get it.
Yes, thank you so much, Corey. I'm going to have Maggie and Guji come off mute. Maggie? Maggie, you're on mute.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. My name is Maggie Coogie. I am currently based in Toronto, Canada. I am originally from Kenya, born and bred in Kenya. I moved to the United States in 2015 to study. So I moved to study my MBA in New York, and that's how I began my journey in the States. I lived there for about 3 years before I moved to California for a technology company. This is the company that moved me to Toronto for another job. I recently joined Google about 6 weeks ago, so I'm still new to Google. But it's been a very interesting journey, and like everyone has echoed, there's nothing special that you have to be. You just have to want to take the risks to achieve the dreams that you set for yourself. I'm an immigrant. I come from Kenya, which is considered a third world country, but just with the will to learn and to grow and not have anything limit the dreams that you pursue, you can get anywhere. So me joining Google as well was obviously something that many people might not think about as a possibility, especially when you're an immigrant from Africa, but it is a possibility if you set your goals as high as you can go. So I worked with Jalika before in a different technology company. And initially I was studying finance. I actually was trained in business for my undergraduate and then moved to New York to study finance. And because of my business degree, I've been able to change and get into different industries and different roles. So all I want to bring to the table is that there's nothing that's out of your reach, and change is something that you can navigate and grow through changing and being audacious in your goals.
Yes, thank you so much, Maggie. And Theron, do you want to come off mute?
What's going on? Sorry, flipped. Give me a second. Am I flipped sideways?
No, you're good now, but
Oh, okay, cool.
no, yeah, there you go.
EPA. Went to college, studied economics. Wanted to get into software engineering, so I taught myself how to code, and now I'm at Google. Short story.
It is not that short, TJ. Okay, let me help y'all understand the amazingness that this man did. He went from East Palo Alto, went from California to Atlanta, Georgia, studied finance and economics, went into trading, was a stockbroker for 11 years, and decided that the brokerage service world was not speaking to his passion. And so he decided to bet on himself, taught himself how to code, which is not an easy feat, and then worked for the biggest engineering company in the world. So I think he just kind of played himself short there. So I had to come back and put those roses out there. So yeah, so we have an engineer, project manager, product manager, and I am a financial planning and analysis manager. So let's go into the questions. Coke or Miss West, do you all have anything you want to say before we pivot to questions? No? Okay. And this is meant to be interactive. So if where you all are, if a student has a question, they can ask a real-time question. I don't want us to just be talking to you all. I want us to be speaking with you all. So the first question that's on here is, how big is Google? I think I can take that because I know everyone's payroll and equity in here. So I know that we have about 120,000 employees. We're just a massive company, global, in every continent you can think of. We not only employ full-time employees, but we also have TDCs, which are temporary vendor and contract workers. So Google's huge. It's probably the largest tech company in the world. Let's ask this question to TJ. How long did it take you to get where you are today in the tech field?
Like a year and a half, maybe 2.
Can you give more details, please?
Yeah, 2017, I decided to leave my job in finance, and I wanted to, like, you know, I was tired of doing the things that I was doing. So anyway, I taught myself how to code. I couldn't get a job doing what I was doing. So I went back to like finance for like another year, and like every day after work, I just pull out my book and start studying, you know what I'm saying? So like people didn't know what I was doing. I was just like being silent, and I knew that they didn't think I could do it. So I didn't really want to talk about it anyway. So then I got a job like at a consulting company. I don't know if y'all know what that is, but like you go out to other companies and you do work for them. And I just lucked out. Like they were paying me, but I wasn't doing any work for like 6 months. Like they was paying me to go to some office. They didn't need any work done, but they already had like paid the company for the consultant. So I was there. And so every hour I was there, I was studying. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody else was keying and catting off, you know what I'm saying? So Google had always asked for my attention. I just never thought that I was ready. So I put in that work, you know what I'm saying, when nobody was watching. And that's how it happened. That's all it is.
Perfect. Thank you so much, TJ. Corey, do you want to answer that same question? How long did it take you to get into the tech field?
Yeah, so my first introduction into tech was actually when I was in college. I was a rising sophomore, or maybe a rising junior, which means I was either in my second or third year at Johns Hopkins. And I had started off as a computer science major, but I didn't finish that way. And so I had taken a semester off after failing miserably. For the first time in my life, I failed intermediate programming, which was a class that I was taking pass fail. So it wasn't even like a grading system of A, B, C, D, or F. It was either pass or fail, and I failed it. And then I ended up having to withdraw from a class called discrete math because I was going to fail that too. And so as a result of just pretty much taking both of these heavy STEM classes, I was put on academic probation, and it just kind of allowed me the space and the opportunity to reflect and reposition myself to reconsider where I wanted to go. And so I just knew that I did not want to stay at Hopkins any longer than I had to. I wanted to get up out of there. And so I changed my major to a humanities major. It's actually called Medicine, Science, and Humanities, and then a Spanish double major from computer science. Very different worlds. And without disclosing that to Intel, I completed an engineering internship at Intel. And so that was my first time living in California all by myself. It was my introduction into the tech world, and it was a terrible experience for me. And so by the end of my summer internship, which actually ended up being 7 months long instead of 3, I just knew that I didn't want to go back. And so I had to figure out how to make something else work. And I just got creative with it, which is one of the superpowers that I think I have. And so I just kind of wrote up a blurb about myself, about what I was interested in and what I wanted from the people that I sent it out to. And I found Black women specifically, to send it out to via Instagram hashtags. And so I was Googling like Black women in tech, Black women at Google. And I just sent that out to as many people as I could. And I ended up getting in touch with someone who was a recruiter for the Bold internship here at Google, which I completed in the summer of 2019. And from that internship, I got a full-time offer. And so I've been here as a full-timer since September 2020. So pretty much tech is where I started my journey, just straight out of college, or in college, and then straight out of college full-time.
Thank you, Corey. Maggie, how did you decide on the career that you have? So product management, I'm sure there's not a lot of students on this call that understand what that is. I know I didn't understand what it was, and I worked in tech for some time. So how did you land in product management?
Yeah, absolutely, Janika. So product management is a new-ish career in the tech world. Basically, what product management is, it's the role that sits in between business, technology, and the users. So basically, the individual in this role, what they do is they talk to the users and understand what problems the users have as they use the products, the technology products. They understand what challenges they're having or what else to improve. And this particular solution or problem that they identified needs to align with the company's strategy on how the company will grow and make money. And this role now sits down with technology. So people like TJ sits down with the engineers and define how to build this solution, and then works with marketing and brings this solution back to the users, collects feedback. And that's how a technology product grows, basically. So how did I decide? I fell headfirst into this career. I didn't even know it existed, to be honest. And I was doing my master's in finance in New York at the time. And all I knew is I wanted to be in finance. I was actually interning in a financial planning and analysis role, so similar to what Janika is doing. And at the time, I graduated and didn't have a job, but the university I was at had an incubator where they incubated student businesses. And I was tasked to build an app. This was the first time I ever worked with engineers, ever figured out how to solve a problem or build an app. And that was my first introduction. That's when I realized, oh, wow, I really love this. So in terms of how did I decide? I almost didn't decide, but the experiences I had, and accidentally, or let's say opportunistically, taking an opportunity that was outside my comfort zone, I learned something that I loved. So I ended up realizing that this was something I actually really loved, even more than I loved finance, even though I was trained in finance. And I decided to go full on and find out how to get into this career. So I started to talk to people, and I met a couple of people who began to introduce me to their companies. And I ended up in California, and now I moved from New York to California to work in Proper Technologies, which was the first technology company that I worked in.
Got it. Thank you so much, Maggie. So I really want to take a quick pause because I know that you all just got finished testing and we're multitasking because you're eating lunch. But the students in Lillian's class, y'all are doing a lot of playing. And I don't understand if you know the magnitude of having people who work full time come and talk to y'all, but you may want to pay attention because we're really just trying to pour into you so that you, okay. I saw you doing the dance in Miss Glover's class, and that's all good. But I really want to make sure that you all are taking the information that we're saying and applying it to you, because the real world, it's a real thing out here, and you don't necessarily have to struggle through by doing some of the things that we're sharing with you. So I'm going to ask the question. Someone just asked in the chat, do you have to live in California to work for Google? No. So Google has just opened a ton of new sites, one of which is in Atlanta. And so now you all will start to see a lot of technology coming into the inner city of Atlanta. I believe the new office is on 12th Street. And Maggie lives in Toronto. Corey's in San Diego. I live in LA. So Google's everywhere. So no, you do not have to live in California to work at Google. So I'm going to ask another question on here. And I'll ask it for TJ. What makes Google different from the traditional workplace that makes it such a desired place to work? Can you answer that question?
Yeah, man. Like, you don't need nobody on your back asking you if you're doing your work. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's called autonomy. That's what they give you for the most part. You know what I'm saying? I used to have a job where I used to have to clock in and all that. That's not cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, managers need to treat their people like they're smarter than them, like they work harder than them. And then the managers, the people that are training you or whatever, they just make sure that if it's anything you need help with, that you need help with it. And everybody move in their own lane. You know what I'm saying? The other thing is it gives back to like to the environment. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're carbon neutral. I care about the environment, so that's a big thing for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, caring about the earth is a big thing and always has been since I was a kid. And then the other thing is the paper. You know what I'm saying? Like, they cashing out. And if you know what stock is and you see what Google stock is doing, you know what I'm saying? It's hitting front flips. It's doubling up every couple of years. So if you had $2,000 on the stock in a share last year, it could be 4,000 in 4 or 5 years. You know, so you put the money behind it, you put doing good behind it, and then you put nobody being on your back behind it, and you in your lane, like you in your bag, you in your pocket, you could just stay there. And so that's the 3 main reasons.
Thank you for answering that, TJ. So I'll also answer that question. I think for me, the biggest difference is from working at like a traditional workplace than Google, aside from you don't have anyone on your back, it's also that Google just hires a lot of smart people. You know, and so you get to learn and become friends with and build relationships with pretty much people who learn how to use their brain, because you have to be a thinker. And so I've known Maggie for quite some time. Corey has been just amazing with how she's applied herself. These things are not something you're born with. All it is about application of yourself. Instead of texting in school, you can be reading. You could go on YouTube and learn how to do something new with your free time. This is all about self-application. And I think that's what Google does. They hire people who want to apply themselves to continue to grow and to learn. So I was in the stock space for 15 years, and I did a career pivot just last year into FP&A. There's a question in the chat about what college degrees, what's that question? What would be college degrees to consider for college? Do you mean to work at Google? Tamika, is that what you mean? So I can tell you now, I was pretty much, I wanted to learn money, but then I also want to learn about history and Black history specifically. So I did finance and I did African American studies. My husband, TJ, he did finance and economics. So he wasn't even a computer science major, but he taught himself how to code because the information is out there. Corey, what was your major for school?
Medicine, science, humanities, and Spanish double major.
Okay. And then Maggie?
Business, entrepreneurship, and finance.
Yep. So really, I mean, I know a lot of people who've done like English and then they become a chief of staff or they become a project manager. Like, I think your major doesn't necessarily dictate what you do for work. I know so many people that have a major don't work in their field. It's all about your willingness to learn. And like Maggie and Corey said, to take risks. And like me and my husband did when we did career pivots, to bet on yourself. Someone asked, are any of you Microsoft or A+ certified as well? I'm not sure what Microsoft or A+ certified is. TJ, do you know what that is?
Nah, but if the person who asked the question can ask it real time, that's cool too.
Erica, do you want to come off mute and ask the question? Okay, I don't know if they can. What I can answer to that question is from a Microsoft perspective, if you're talking about like Word and Excel, oh, these are tech certifications. So I'm not sure. I don't know what, I mean, I know like Microsoft Windows, we all are pretty much expert at that at this point. And I'm not sure about A+, so I'm going to say no. However, I will say that there are other certifications that I believe each one of us have. So for instance, I was in equity, so I had to take the CEP level 1, 2, and 3, which is almost like the CPA for stockbrokers or for people who work in the stock realm. I know my husband has gotten many coding and software engineer certifications. Corey, have you gotten any certifications for your role? No, but I do know that there is a project management certification that Google has out that all of you actually can take right now, because it's not for college students or it's for the community. And so Corey's a project manager. So if you want to learn how to be a project manager, that information is available online. Maggie, did you have to get any certifications?
No, I didn't, but I did it just to enhance my education. So I did do a project management one, and there's a product management one that I just got on Coursera, but you don't have to have any. Okay,
perfect. So I'm gonna go down and ask, what is imposter syndrome? That's on here also. So imposter syndrome, I kind of felt like I dealt with it just a small amount when I first got to Google, being the first college student in my family, pretty much being the first everything in my family, and coming into this big place with all these geniuses and feeling like I wasn't good enough or wasn't smart enough or couldn't learn enough. And then I just decided to stop feeding that energy. And now I'm flourishing because there's nothing I can't do. And I think, you know, especially children that come from specific backgrounds, typically underprivileged or under-resourced. What I mean by that is from the hood and from, you know, families that are in Section 8 and welfare like mine was. It's very difficult to then come into an organization and manage $200 million. And that's what I do now. And so really it's about retraining your brain and not paying attention to the negative thoughts and really believing in yourself. Even if it's just like with one negative thought, combating it with 2 positive thoughts, so you know that you can do whatever it is that you put your mind to. And speaking of which, I'm going to take a pause. Someone asked, what's the best way to go about working for Google or any tech company? Maggie, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, sure. I guess how to go about it, if you mean from the context of how do you get a job, because there's two aspects here. How do you get a job? And then how do you actually do the job? Those are 2 different things. So how do you
I think
get
it's going to be get the job. Yeah.
Get the job. Okay, perfect. I think there's different ways. The one that has worked for me basically is networking. Make sure that you're growing your professional network, or just be friendly and get to know people. So LinkedIn, for example, if you get a LinkedIn profile, meet people who usually are outside of your scope. Reach out to people and say, hey, I like what you're doing. I'd love to learn from you. Can we connect? So from that aspect, you get to meet so many people that eventually you could get someone who can refer you. So for example, Jalika referred me into Google. We worked together for a different company, and she was my referral. So she referred me to Google, and that's how you get attention of the recruiters. So 2 things. On LinkedIn, if your profile is well fleshed out, recruiters are always looking for new talent. So if they spot you, they will reach out to you, talk to them. Secondly, start to network, meet people. Those people refer you into companies, and that's how you get the attention of recruiters, and then go through the interview process, which means that you prepare for those interviews, you read widely, talk to other people, join communities of people that are also preparing for those interviews, and then just, you know, go straight in, confident, and you're going to be able to get that job.
Yes, thank you so much, Maggie.
Sure.
Miss West, do you have your hand up?
Yes, we have several students that are here that wanted to ask questions as well.
Okay, perfect.
Stand up. And they can see you.
Oh, okay. Um, are there things you dislike about working with Google?
Yes, I can take that one. Corey, I saw your face if you want to go too. So Google can sometimes feel like too big. I know that's, an interesting concept, but for some teams, it can feel too much bureaucracy. Like if we wanted to change a process um, to make things more efficient on our team, it may have to go through 15 levels of approval before getting it done, versus the company that Maggie and I worked for prior to working at Google. It was a company of 2,200 people. We have one person approving it, and then we can make the switch in most cases. So I think that's the first thing I would say. The second thing is um, there are so many different cultures, which it should be a good thing, but sometimes it can feel like a cultural barrier. So for instance, I'm struggling with trying to make sure that people I come in contact with um, are not people who like move from India or move from China, or move from an international country and come straight to California. And the only image they get of Black people is what's on the news, Black or Hispanic people. Oh, this person killed this person. Oh, that, what they put about us on the news. And so they kind of create these implicit biases without actually meeting Black or Hispanic people for themselves. And I think that's just like, the way in which this country operates. But because Google's so big and we do so much good for the world, I kind of have a personal challenge to undo those stereotypes with every person that I meet. And it can be kind of difficult. So that's one for me. Corey, did you have anything there?
Yeah, I'll add one. My a big challenge that I've faced is not Google specific, but more so just being in a corporate environment. Oftentimes, when you are in such a place, it kind of feels like a box that you've been put in, and it has, in my experience, sometimes limited my scope or my beliefs about what I could do next or what was possible for me. Because, like Jalika mentioned, there is a lot of bureaucracy. There are a lot of rules that have to be followed and processes that have to be followed. And so sometimes it's challenging to think outside the box. Um, but with that being said, I also would like to recognize that there are so many different opportunities. Though Google is a box and any company is a box, it's a big box, right? And so whatever you want to do, whatever you want to learn about, whatever you would like to work on, there's an opportunity for you to be able to do that. And so that would be my biggest kind of challenge that I'm constantly going back and forth with.
Thank you for that question. That was a great question. Do you have another question, Ms. West?
Yes, we do. What are the best rewards or perks for working at Google?
One more time.
What are the best rewards or perks for working at Google?
Oh, the best rewards or perks. TJ, do you want to take that one? The best rewards or perks for working at Google? Something's going on with your phone. I'll take it on his behalf because we live together. So I know his rewards and perks are mine. The pay is pretty awesome. But not just from like a salary perspective. We have a lot of great, amazing benefits. So there's something called like a 401k that you can put pre-tax payroll dollars to your retirement account and Google will automatically match that, which means you kind of expedite when you want to retire, you expedite how much money you have in your account to take care of yourself. Another thing is like they are very responsive with trying to help employees. So when COVID hit, the world shut down, Google implemented this 12-week full pay leave called CARES leave, where, I've just had a baby. I have a 13-year-old. She's on the call. It was very stressful thinking that like the world was going in with COVID. And it caused a lot of mental well-being issues. And so being able to take off to kind of tend to transitioning and, making sure your mental health is as optimal as possible while not having to worry about not getting paid, was, I think, one of the best benefits that we've ever gotten, along with like 25 free therapy sessions, because I think everybody needs therapy. So to not have to pay for it, I had much appreciation for. Corey, do you want to share?
Yeah, I think those are very valuable things, especially from an adult perspective, which I
Mhm.
now have. But from like a more, I guess, youthful perspective, there's also so
Did
many.
you just call me old, Corey?
No, that is not what I said. But there are so many cool things about being on campus. From like all the first of all, it's just so colorful, right? That's the first thing for me that I noticed when I got there as an intern.
Mhm.
So colorful, so many things to do, so many places to go. Like some of the office buildings, well, all the office buildings have different themes, but let's say, for example, you walk into one building and the lobby is not just your typical lobby, but it's like a rock climbing cave or something. There's also like free massages that we get. There are all different kinds of restaurants and cuisines all across the campus. There's like pools and gyms, there's dance and fitness classes. Just pretty much all the kinds of things that make you want to stay on campus a little longer, which probably means you'll be working a little more. Those are my
yeah. They got dry cleaning. They got, I mean, you name it. Yeah, you name it, Google has it. They feed you breakfast, lunch, and dinner, not just for you, but for your whole family and your friends. And that saves $500 every 2 weeks on groceries almost, so they really do try to take care of the employees. So I'm going to take a pause before we take another question. Madra, do you want to come off mute and give a middle schooler's perspective?
Sure. A middle schooler's perspective on Google?
No, just on whatever you'd like to share.
Okay. Well, hi, my name is Myjoy Copeland. I'm Jalika Morris Jones' daughter. I'm 13. I'm homeschooled at an all-Black STEAM and STEM based in Atlanta, Georgia. But I'm enrolled in a high school and I'll be starting next semester. And I'm basically just going to show you guys the things that I do, like the projects. And to me, school is a very important tool to have, because if you want to do anything, you will need an education, even if it's something like acting where it doesn't require much education. If you want to know how much money you make and who's going to get paid and how much money you're going to have for yourself, you need to know mathematics. You need to know like all of the basics, basically, in which that is what school is. And so I do like 3D printing, like 3D designing, and I do like circuits with electronics. And those are some of the things that I'm going to be showing you guys today. So if it's okay, can I share my screen? Okay.
Yes, it's okay. And please share, Madra, but I just also want to mention to the audience that these are all things she learned on YouTube on her own time, which means like if you're interested, you can also go on the internet for free and learn these things as well. You don't have to you don't have to wait for college. You don't have to wait for somebody to come and teach you. They pretty much teach you all the things that you would pay to do on a free app. So go ahead and share, Madra.
Okay. Okay. So for
you're not sharing.
Yeah, it's loading.
Oh, okay.
Can you guys see it? Okay. So for the high school that I'm enrolled in, we had a question where it was like, what is something that you can do to help people in need? And I had based it on homeless people, like homelessness. So these tents would be 3D printed and given to homeless people. And I would have partnered with like big tech companies like Google to fund it. And I would have had a nonprofit run the whole organization, basically. So I just want to show you guys what I made inside of the tents. And I made all of this from scratch, like literally from a box. I made everything from the tent to the bed to the pillow to the toilet paper inside. And this is what 3D designing is. If you have a 3D printer, you can print it and it would be made out of like plastic. But I just wanted to show you guys what I made, and I basically just used a box, which is this box right here, and I made both of these from a box.
Okay, hold on one second, my joy. Ronald, do you have a question? Okay, I don't think he has a question.
Okay.
So do you want to explain how you made that? Because you didn't know how to do this in this way,
No.
a couple months ago.
Yeah. So I did have a video, and the video basically just explains how you can make it. So like for an example, I made this like by myself with no video, but with this one, you could take like the box that I had just shown previously. You could take that box, and there's something called a hole on this website. It would basically like cut the box. So I shaped the hole to cut the box in a certain angle. And that's how I got like the rounded U shape. And I also used the hole to cut the little door part.
Thank you for explaining that, Madre. And let's be clear, I'm her mother and I don't know how to do that, but I also haven't looked at this video and tried. So I'll be putting all the videos that, she thinks you all would benefit from and send it to Miss West so that if you are interested, you can just click the videos and learn how to do it. The application that she used to do these tents is called Tinkercad, right, Madre?
Tinkercad. Yeah.
Tinkercad. Okay. Ms. West, you have a question?
Yes, we were going to just ask that very question, like what were the YouTube channels that she used? And so if you could send that to us, that would be wonderful. But I do have two more questions from our panelists. But I didn't want to, my Joy, were you finished?
I was going to show one more thing, which was going to be
we're so interested.
Okay. And this will be pretty quick. I also learned how to do this from a YouTube video. Let me just, okay. Can you guys see it? Okay. So this is electronics. And electronics is basically, and circuits are basically what makes up everything that uses power. So like your computers, for an example, it's made out of a circuit, which is basically like the motherboard. That is a circuit. And everything from like how your computer works is powered from a circuit. So here, this is called the Arduino Uno. And it basically is something that helps you code your circuit to do certain things. So if you see here, I coded it so that when you push this button here, it's gonna like go through all of the colors and randomize which color it's gonna land on. So I'll start the simulation. Push the button. You see it goes through the colors, and then it landed on blue, and it does that every time, but it goes to the different colors. So I'll do it again. And it landed on yellow. So this is basically how a circuit would be made in real life, but I just did it online, which is easier, but you could also do it the exact same way with a real life circuit. So those are the two things I wanted to show you guys.
Thank you, Marjorie. Your first presentation, you did so well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Miss West, did you have a question?
Yes, and thank you. All of us say thank you. The great presentation. We enjoyed it. Next question.
What are skills that a good leader should have in the work environment?
Great question. I can take that. I think I'm a great leader. It took me a minute to say that out loud because I used to try to dumb myself down for everyone else's insecurity. But YOLO, I'm a pretty good leader. I think the rest of the panelists on this call are also very good leaders as well. I think leaders have no ego, which means that you're able to have a more curious approach. And when you're curious, you know that you don't know anything at all. And when you exchange with people with that foundational mindset, you're being more inclusive to what they have to say, which then allows you to also be able to influence even without authority. So I'm not a manager, but I have a lot of influence on my team as if I was a manager just because I'm a leader. Now, to maybe give more context, I was not born a leader. I mean, I'm the eldest of 5, and because I've always had to take care of my siblings and make decisions on how we're going to eat today when I was 10, how we're going to pay the light bill because it keep getting cut off. I had to learn how to braid to make sure that we at least could eat food on a daily basis. Those habits created some of my fundamental leadership abilities, but that was rooted in fear and it was rooted in survival. And so I had to change the manner by which I was using my leadership energy and actually make it more out of love, to be quite honest. And so I think that those are the fundamental 3 prongs that make a good leader. And then I think the final one is to be able to take calculated risks. So sometimes a leader has to stick up for people who cannot stick up for themselves or is afraid to have a voice. And I find at Google, a lot of my leaders have always had high emotional intelligence and always put their management chain or their employees first, which, that's my opinion. Does anyone else have anything different or additional?
Yeah, do you mind if I go? Because I have to drop off in a few minutes. But just wanted to, thanks. Just wanted to leave you this. Just like Jalika talked about, a leader has humility. So one of the things as you grow in your leadership capabilities is not to fear. So ego can make you not ask the right questions or be fearful of asking questions because you think that as a leader you're supposed to know everything. But that's not the case. As a leader, it's okay to be vulnerable and say, hey, I don't know this specific aspect. Could you help me understand? And the main goal of a leader is to bring together different expertise and be able to draw from the experiences and expertise of people who are better than you. But with humility, you're able to tell someone else, hey, I don't know this area, help me understand. And from that aspect, you're able to connect all these expert experiences, put them together, and make a more calculated decision. So as you think about leadership, don't think about the big voice and the authoritativeness that actually leads to fear versus respect. But as a leader, what you want is respect, and respect comes from humility. So I'll leave you with that, and I wish you all the best. I know the panel is going on, but I have to jump to another meeting. But thank you all for having me, Jessica. Thanks for putting this together.
Yeah.
Sending love and good vibes to you all.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you. Have a good day. Appreciate you. Miss West, did you have another question? And this
Yes.
could be the last one because we're a little over time.
Okay, here we are. Come over here.
How did you decide on the career that you have now?
How did you decide on the career that you have now? I can jump that first. So my career has changed. I kind of just fell into it. I was working at E-Trade. It was time for me to get promoted. There was a floor that was quiet. No one really knew what they did on my team. And I'm typically the person that takes the road less traveled because I like the challenge. So I went, and instead of doing what my husband was doing at the time, which was high equity financial consulting, complex trading of stock. I took the corporate services route. And so in doing equity for big tech companies, I went in-house and started working at Yahoo as their in-house administrator, and then Procore, which was a pre-IPO company, and then Google. And then I did a career change because I really think that if I go a CFO route, I need to know a lot about finance in a corporation and not just one thing about one thing. And that's kind of what it is for me. I'm taking more of a curious approach and starting to learn. So I guess to answer your question, my career changes because I feel like it. I can do whatever I want to do. And I really believe that. So I put my foot on the gas with that. What about you, Dad?
A lot of trial and error. Like somebody asked a question about leadership. Like leading is just the opposite of following. You know what I'm saying? So you may do something similar to somebody else, but it's your specific way, like your unique way. The way that you say things now, the way that you think about things, like even when conversations happen that you don't really put out loud to the group, like those types of things are typically what like makes you you. You know what I mean? Like those little things that people might not appreciate right now, especially in school, when everybody's like trying to be, you know, in the same kind of couple lanes, like anything outside of those lanes ain't really it. But that's who you are. You know what I'm saying? Outside of that lane a little bit, on the line a little bit, that's what makes you unique. And so for me, I didn't follow that path until I got a lot older, because I was, you know, trying to get to the money. You know, I don't come from money at all, really. Like, and I come from violence. So the last thing I wanted to do was go back to the hood. I did a whole bunch of other things career-wise before I landed on this. And this is like right on that line for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll remember my credit card numbers by heart. Like, who does that? You know what I'm saying? But like, if you thinking about numbers like that and you remembering the order of numbers, it probably means you need to focus on numbers and the ordering of things. And that's just software engineering. Like little things like that make you who you are, tell you a lot about what you're going to do and why you end up doing that as a career. And last but not least, just be happy. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter what you do. Honestly, like I know this is about like high career and stuff of that nature, but just don't sell yourself short by being your best you in doing whatever it is that people value or not. Some people don't value teachers, you know, so.
Corey, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I can finish that off. My shortest answer is just basically, I knew I wanted to make good money and I was open to how I was going to do it. So just keeping an open mind, knocking on as many doors as possible, see which ones open up, try some things. Like I mentioned, I did an internship that I actually did not like at all one bit before I got to Google. But it taught me a lot about what I did and did not want in my next company. And then I actually had no idea that my role, which is program manager, existed before I got here. But once I got here, I saw what they wanted me to do. I knew that I was capable of doing it. Right. And that's what I've been doing ever since. And so that's pretty much how I got to where I am.
Yeah. And then we'll take one last question, because I do think this question is important, especially for middle schoolers, because right now it's all about getting your own money. I know that's the trending topic, but I think this question will help y'all learn how to not work harder, but work smarter. So the question is, what would be a typical entry salary working at Google? So I'll go first. Let's just say at E-Trade, how much was I making? Like 40,000 a year? 40,000 a year working full time and working my ass off. And my entry salary into Google was it like 127 plus equity? So it's close to like almost $200,000 a year, doing the same exact thing. And now I'm more than that. So you can do the math there. Do you want to go?
Yeah, I worked at E-Trade too. That's how we met. You know what I'm saying?
That's how we met.
And I was making close to like 40,000. I would say like 36,000 even, like at the beginning. 22 years old. or just South, whatever. Google entry when I switched careers. I mean, with stock, like 237 G's, $237,000.
Mm-hmm. Corey?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, this is my first full-time job. What I would have been slated to make as a full-timer in the same role that I was in at Intel was around like 60 to 70K. But when I joined Google full-time, my offer letter salary was $104,000. Since then, I have jumped to $122,000 as my base salary, in addition to about $80,000 in equity and about a $20,000 bonus. And that's not even counting bonuses that we receive like throughout the year or from our peers or from our managers when we do an excellent job on the work that we do. And so I think it largely depends on what you do and where you do it, because it's definitely going to vary by state. California, you get paid a lot of money because we got to pay a lot of money to be here. But for the most part, I think a six-figure salary at Google is very attainable as an entry-level person.
No question. In the summary, there's engineers make more money than us all. So there you go. Well, thank you so much for having us. This was awesome. Kenneth, thank you for even making this thing happen. We really appreciate the opportunity. Let us know how we can help.
Listen, thank y'all so much. It confuses me every time you say Kenneth, because I don't believe I've ever heard you say that before today.
I've never said Kenneth.
It confuses me. But family, thank y'all so much for blessing these young people with so much wonderful information today. So thank you, Corey and MyJoy and TJ. And I know some of the other guests I think have already logged off. But thank y'all so much for just pouring into these young people today. I'm sure that many of them got a lot of information, and it's just important for them to be able to see people that look like them, that come from situations similar to their own, that are now living the lives that y'all are living. So I greatly appreciate y'all.
Yes, and this is just the baseline. We're not done yet, so don't be done either. Let's put the foot on the gas. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yes, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And we look forward to having you all, even through Zoom. And then also we would like to
not Zoom.
Google.
They not on here with
Google
Zoom.
Meet.
Recording. You
Sorry,
can't say Zoom.
I'm talking to Google people through Google Meets, but we would love to have a tour of like the Google campus at some point in time, just kind of like some pictures or something, so the kids can kind of actually see some of these wonderful things that they have going on. And I think the adults in this building enjoyed it immensely as well, because we're thinking about changing our careers. So
exactly.
Well, my staff just told me they're gonna give me their 2 week tomorrow.
Okay, the salaries were great.
All right. Well, y'all have a good one. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
That means